How did you get into this position?
So I initially started working, like I said, fresh out of university for a heating and ventilation manufacturer, looking at the specification market. So it was a bit of a strategy role. How do we look at marketing strategy? How can we tie our products into compliance? Because as you know, that's a key part in specification, especially new build commercial and new build homes and retrofit commercial. So I sort of started down this tricky route of building regulations. And I will say my degree is actually marketing, but I really wanted to prove that I could do it.
Okay.
So I stayed up nights on end reading the building regulations cover to cover. And I did it.
That's a tough thing.
It was a tough thing. I did it for night after night, finishing, picking up the next one, going back to reread it to pick it up. I was so lucky to be supported by so many brilliant people who knew their stuff. So people who'd been in specification for years in sales or the commercial world, engineers, or those working on the actual design of applying our product, my previous company, to a customer's design footprint. It was sort of pulling that together, the hours of reading the building regulations, speaking to people and just absorbing what they were telling me. And that sort of real world experience, I was so lucky, my previous company, that they let me go out in the field, that I could actually get a flavour for it, that I could hear these conversations, I could listen to what people cared about. I also had a bit of a task of looking at the longer term market. So, what could be the future of this product category? Is it positive? Should we get involved in this product? Like, what is the future market telling us? So I started delving into the world of future regulations, talking to civil servants about what could come, looking at EU policy, trying to tie the two together. I was one of the few people who at the very, very start realised that because of EU law, the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, and we hadn't left the EU at this point, or we had but were in that transition period, that we would have to start looking at primary energy. So I was doing this huge piece, this huge report. Luckily, my company supported me to do it, looking at what would primary energy mean applied to the UK. Speaking to R&D engineers who had the data products, speaking to the application designers and what that could actually do to a dwelling. Went and spoke to a lot in the market and just said, this is what it is, what do you think would happen? Government used the report for the Future Home Standard consultation, sort of look at the impact. And I sort of started to get this overall feel of where we were heading. And I started to see growing, coming up behind me, sort of in your wing mirror, realising this net zero thing is starting to really creep up on you. And we're starting to get more and more requests. And there's more and more policy coming out. The civil servants are asking about it more and more. Customers are. And I started looking at it going, this is going to be a whole new role. It's going to be a whole new job for someone. Looking at the supply chains we have, which are so complex, from raw material extraction to end of life in some cases, like what do you do with it? Looking at product design, looking at so much. And that's when the CEO of my current company, Beamer, Gisela Farmer, called me up and said, I've taken the CEO role. I need someone to pick up net zero at Beamer. She knew that I was looking for a new role. I really wanted one more tied into sustainability, and she offered me the role. So I sort of joined in and just went, right, let's do this. Let's build something from the ground up. Kind of like how, when I first started and I was reading all the building regs, I was really trying to convince my company to, basically take a shot on me. So I was a graduate and I was saying to them, let me head up your channel marketing, as we called it then, your channel marketing for specification. It's only like a year or so out of university.
So what did they say? You're bonkers.
Yeah.
Why on earth would we do that?
To a degree, but I didn't let them get that far. I went fully armed. Plans, work that I'd been creating.
So you came to them with a proposal?
Yep. And I basically said, give me a chance. If it doesn't work out, then if it does, here's a taste of what I can do. So much of my success in those early days with, being thankful to those who gave me the chance, really. I'm thankful for those who answered all my questions. If you imagine that you've only ever done a marketing degree and you're reading the building regulations, like it was complex, it was technical. I had a lot of questions. You can't Google all of them. I tried. Some of them you need answers for because not all of it seems to make sense. So all those people who spent their time helping me, training me, giving me their knowledge, their understanding. I wouldn't be here today if those people hadn't taken a chance on me, really.
So what did your previous company say then when you came to them effectively with this business proposal? What did they say? No, get lost. Come join us.
Well, I already worked for them, but as a marketing.
But you're asking here for a significant shift, right? From a marketing graduate to let me head up a brand new department doing something that I didn't actually study in university and I've got no detailed technical experience in.
So I wasn't heading it up per se. I still had my boss. I was just leading the work planning, the budgets, the strategy for it.
So they dipped their toe then with you?
They did. And they said, let's try it. And, I had more than a couple of conversations. This was pre-COVID, so we're all in the office, constantly knocking on their doors. I'd like to do this. Knocking on their door next week. I would like to do this. And eventually they were like, okay, let's try it. And I was able to prove to them that it was something that I could do. So they gave me the manager role. Like I said, I couldn't have been a year out of university. Not all my success by any means. It was all those people who helped me, who supported me.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, the humility that you're showing here. And this is not forced humility. And I hope I'm not coming across as being patronizing by saying that you're being humble, because it's taking your action to make that difference. I know what those documents are like that you have read, and this is not like reading an interesting novel. This is technical, complicated. Sometimes you need to actually sit and think, how are these points even connected? How are the documents connected? This is not bedtime reading. This is hard graft. And so after you've done all of that and then you've engaged with other people to try and fill in the gaps and successfully done that, that would have taken a lot of effort, a lot of thought, and a lot of determination.
Definitely. It's something that I've always been good at, if I'm honest. It's
being determined?
Being determined, yes. Before I had the motorbike crash when I was 21, I was certainly on the top scale of arrogant, shall we say. And, life experiences like that, they do change you. Becoming a parent changes you as well. And I wouldn't, for all of my determination, for all of the hours spent reading the regulations, I wouldn't have got where I was without the help of others. It wasn't me. In fact, what made it so successful is that I had so many people willing to feed into it. And I guess my greatest achievement in many ways was listening, taking them on, weaving them together, and then being able to say, here's the story. And I guess in many ways, that's what marketing's about. I'm just lucky that I have the patience to read the building regulations and be able to tie it in with things that are coming as well. My brain jumps about all over the place, but it works.